Hello and welcome to this latest video in this series called Mathematics is for Everyone, my mathemategol. And today we'll be looking at Srinivasa Ramanujan, an Indian mathematician with a really interesting history. Ramanujan was an Indian mathematician. He received no formal mathematical education at school and became known as a self-taught mathematical genius. He worked on many mathematical theorems, of which he strongly believed they were true, although he didn't have any proofs for them. So when we look at a theorem today, and we often look in a textbook, or we read about it on the internet, the theorems come with proofs, so we know we can use that theorem. Ramanujan didn't have any proofs, yet the work he'd done, all of the bits he'd created, he believed to be true, and he wanted them to be published, to be shared with the world. And so he wrote to G.H. Hardy at Cambridge University in England. And Hardy was impressed by what he saw, intrigued, confused maybe, but wanted to know more. He thought, how has Ramanujan got all of these wonderful theorems but without any proofs? He can't possibly have just made these up. It would be too bizarre, too freaky, if you like, to come up with all of these theorems without them being right. But there needed to be some kind of proof to go with them. So Hardy invited Ramanujan to England. And then followed a period of time where Ramanujan was based at Cambridge University with Hardy. And the next chapter of Ramanujan's life is documented in a film which I'll suggest to you in a minute. Following this period of his life, Ramanujan was made into a fellow after a difficult battle. This film, The Man Who Knew Infinity, will give you a whistle-stop tour of Ramanujan's life, giving you an insight into the relationships he had at home and also in Cambridge. Really worth watching. I hope you enjoy it. Okay, let's have a look at some of the work, the mathematical work that Ramanujan did. He looked at one of the bits that impressed one of his colleagues at Cambridge was some work on partitions. Now we will take a nice easy introduction into partitions. So if I was to ask how many partitions or what are the partitions of the number 3, the answer would be that there are 3, and I can use this bracket notation to talk about it. So how many partitions of the number 3? There are 3 of them, because 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 3, 2 plus 1 or 1 plus 2, the order doesn't matter, is also 3, and obviously 3 is equal to 3. So there's 3 ways I can add together integers to get the number 3. So 3 has 3, can be partitioned in 3 different ways. The number 4, let's look at the partitions of that. It could just be 4. It could be 3 plus 1 or 1 plus 3, the same. 2 plus 2 or 2 plus 1 plus 1, and don't worry about the different orders you could do that in. And also 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1. So how many partitions does 4 have? It has 5. Can you determine how many partitions 5 has? How many partitions 10 has? And if you've got enough time, can you figure out how many partitions 20 has? Ramanujan was famous for having lots of information about lots of different numbers, kind of just stored away in his head, and maybe it came to him. But one day Hardy came to visit Ramanujan when he was poorly in hospital, and Ramanujan said to Hardy, "Oh, what was the number of the taxi?" And Hardy said, "Oh, it was a really uninteresting number. It was 1,729. And Ramanujan said, "Well, that's not uninteresting, because 1,729 can be written as the sum of 2 cubes in 2 different ways. So 1,729 is the same as 10 cubed plus 9 cubed, but it's also the same as 12 cubed plus 1 cubed. Now this is known as a taxicab number of order 2, because there's 2 different ways to make this number 1,729. And I could use either of these notations. So, can you find taxicab number 1? One number, smallest number that can be written in as the sum of 2 cubes, but only in one way. And can you find a taxicab number order 3? The the smallest one, that can be written as the sum of 2 cubes in 3 different ways. Send them in to us if you manage to figure them out. So Ramanujan also did some work on rapidly converging infinite series, and this one is for pi. In particular, the way it's written here is for 1 over pi. So if we were to determine the right hand side of this formula, we would need to find the reciprocal of it before we could get our approximation for pi. What I'm going to ask you to try and do is just to figure out the first 2 terms. So evaluating this when k is 0, evaluating it when k is 1 and adding them together. That's what this summation means. And then timesing it by root 8, dividing by 99 squared and finding the reciprocal at the end. To get the best, you'd need to do an infinite number of terms. Might take you a while. So if we stick 0 in, substitute 0 in, if we substitute 1 in, we get these 2 terms which we need to add together. Now the 1s and the 0s might mean that this simplifies quite nicely. Often that happens. It might not, but it's worth having a go. See if you can get the fraction out from adding those 2 terms together. Multiply it by root 8. You might be able to simplify root 8 into something slightly nicer. Divide it by 99 squared. And then remember, you need to find the reciprocal of that before you're going to find that approximation of pi. And just remember, Ramanujan was working on these things many, many years before computers came to help him out. I hope you found this little video interesting about Ramanujan. Maybe you'll go and watch the film, and maybe one day you will find yourself in a taxi cab with a very interesting number.